What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning and welcome to the Shred Show Live. I am your host, Josh Pitts, and you can see in his smiling face, Joe Welu is joining us, CEO and founder of Total Expert. And ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible show for you this morning. You're not going to want to miss it. As a matter of fact, not only are you not going to want to miss it, you want to share this, you want to tag your friends, because we are about to talk about how to separate yourself from the masses. Now more than ever, you need that competitive edge. You need to separate from the pack. How are you doing it? Are you even thinking about it? Now is the time. Joe is going to be sharing about how he is seeing some of the trends, some of the things that you should be thinking about right now, how to separate yourself, how to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, volume up. Are you ready? Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? It's time to shred. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I am so excited. I've known Joe for a while, but I think this is the first time we've actually had him on the show officially. So I am stoked to be hanging out with him, to be shredding with him this morning. And guys, if you are joining us live, make sure you comment hashtag Total Expert down in the chat. That means you are live. You're hanging out with me and Joe. And feel free, as we go through this discussion, to drop your questions in the chat, of course. And if you're joining us on the replay, make sure you comment hashtag hustle, because that means you're out there. You're getting it done, and you're coming back right here to get what you need to be successful in your business. Joe, what is up? Good morning, and thanks for joining us, brother.
Hey, buddy. Good to be with you, man. I love the energy, the passion, enthusiasm, man. I love it.
You know, I always tell people I make up for enthusiasm for what I lack in knowledge. So I'm way enthusiastic because I'm
not to be said for what you can do with passion and enthusiasm.
Amen to that. But hey, so I'm excited to chat with you this morning. You know, everybody's heard the name. If you're in the mortgage industry, if you're in real estate, you probably heard the name Total Expert. But we're going to go into a little bit deeper. And today, especially, we're talking about how to separate yourself from the pack. Before we get into a great conversation today, share a little bit about Joe. For those who don't know you, a little bit about yourself, how you got into the Total Expert space.
Yeah, so my career started way back in residential real estate. So I had a sales team, was pretty successful at doing that for 12, 13 years. And the initial foundation of Total Expert was really based on the premise that the technology that we saw being delivered to the industry, specifically for loan officers and agents, and how they would acquire and serve and manage customers, we just felt was missing a perspective of somebody that deeply understood the business, right?
Sure.
So we would see products brought to market, and there was just missing. It was just, you could just feel that it was somebody that didn't understand the nuances. And so it really started with that premise. And our fundamental belief was never to try to build technology to replace the humans. It was always about how can we enhance and how can we really optimize both tech and humans together can deliver value and unlock an incredible opportunities for people that are willing to adopt it.
So you don't think technology is going to take over the world? You think us as humans, we still have a chance, right, Joe?
We still have a chance. I do believe that it can really enrich lives and improves the way people do their jobs, the way they serve their customers, the way they communicate and engage. And I ultimately think that it's going to be something that you have to embrace if you want to stay relevant, because the consumers they expect more, they demand more. The bar has really been elevated, particularly as you're coming on the heels of COVID now, and seeing the acceleration and digital transformation. The way people expect brands to engage and communicate and serve them has just been leveled up.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is how everybody listening, how lenders can really level themselves up, because you guys really, everybody kind of says, Total Expert's a CRM. That's what you refer to as a lot, but more you're a customer experience platform, which I love that.
So really how we've evolved as an organization, we started with some narrow marketing capabilities. And our philosophy has always been a lot of collaboration with our customers, with the organizations, the partners that we have. And what happened is we started building capabilities. We're just listening to what the market really needed. And what they needed really was looking at the customer journey from first touch to customer for life, the ability to orchestrate all of the touch points, the communication, be able to use the data and look at ways that you can level up the way that you're anticipating the needs of the customer, the way you're serving them. And so what ended up happening is we've built, purpose-built, built together from the ground up, really marketing, customer engagement, and CRM. And then built on, of course, industry-specific data models, compliance, rules and regs, all of those types of things.
Well, and it's kind of the entire package all wrapped into one. That's really, and you talk about technology. Yeah, exactly. Purpose built. And that's one thing within our industry. We see so many little pieces of this and that, and this being built. It's having the product or having the tools all in one place. So we don't have to go here. We don't have to go there. It's one-stop shop.
Yeah. And let me, I think it's worth noting, let me be super clear. We don't ever attempt to be great at everything. What we do attempt to do is build an incredible platform. And trust me, we've come a long way. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we realize that it's really about the tech stack now. Sure. And how you tuck in the different tools and solutions and having the flexibility with APIs. So, as you look at ultimately, what do I want as a lender, as a loan officer? I want to grow my business and I want to drive customer for life relationships. I want loyalty. Once I do a customer, I want to do every loan with that customer until they die. Right. And so that's how we think about it. And to do that, you gotta work with data partners. You have to work with POS partners. And so we look at the customer journey and the orchestration of that as kind of our sweet spot. And then from there, how do we be a great partner in putting those pieces together?
I love that, because we always hear the saying, if you're a jack of all trades, you're an expert of none. Really focusing in on, hey, we know what we're really, really good at. We're going to continue to go down that road. We're going to keep our focus right here, and we're going to go deep on that. And then we're going to partner. I love this idea, and I talk more and more about this with the people we have on the show, is collaboration, these tech stacks, these integrations that are happening. That's also, that is helping our industry continue to move forward. Because like you said, you have 100%. Great companies working together in this collaboration, which I kind of want to start going down that road, because honestly, 2020 was a banner year. I mean, a phenomenal year. 2021, we've done well in the beginning of this year. What are some of the factors that you think have contributed to an extraordinary lending market in these last couple of years?
Yeah, well, so I do believe fundamentally for a lot of people, you can't let the market of 2020 convince you that you're better than what you are. Right. I mean, let's just be, I'm just going to, address the elephant in the room. I think if you're in lending and mortgage in 2020, chances are you did well. Right. And there was so many macro trends that happened, record low interest rates. The economy sort of accelerated right out of COVID, and people were spending more time at home. The home all of a sudden became really, really important, like it hasn't been for decades, right? So you have a lot of macro trends. Now, with that said, I think it's really unique on how different companies and different originators and sales teams actually have capitalized on it and what they're doing to maximize the long term, right? You really see two cohorts of organizations and practitioners. You see the cohort that says, hey, I'm just going to get fat on all the deals coming in. I'm going to do as many transactions as I can. And then you have the people saying, wait a second, right now is my time to grow market share, to lean in and double down and get better at how I'm using my data, at retaining these customers. Right? At growing my partnerships, all those things. And so you really started to see, at least from our perspective, you saw these macro trends creating a tremendous environment of opportunity. But like many things, that opportunity is not equally distributed.
Right. So. And that's a really good point, is not equally distributed. And there's some factors and there's some discussions that are already starting to happen. Like you said, if you were in this business in 2020, most of us had a banner year. Business, we were just falling over business. But I think there was a lot of key elements that got lost. You talk about relationships, you talk about creating that trust factor. I think people and originators in particular got so focused on the here and now, the little things, that the pipeline, closing that transaction, that they miss so many critical elements of the transaction, of building that relationship, staying in touch with their clients, making sure they're providing value.
And I want to say I'm super empathetic to, I mean, we stay really close to a lot of originators, and as we work with a lot of great brands out there, and we'll dig in and listen to what's going on. And I have a lot of empathy for what was happening. And what was happening is the demand would just outstrip the systems, processes, and just capacity. And so, some of these poor people were working 80, 100 hours a week, just full tilt, trying to service just the demand that's coming in. So it really made it challenging to step back and say, how do I optimize the business and really maximize this opportunity, because you're just trying to stay afloat. So it definitely a huge challenge for a lot of people.
Well, and that's just it. Now, I mean, as we start to kind of move into the next part of our conversation, interest rates have, since March, we started to see interest rates, they broke 3%. The number of remaining refinances are starting to dip down. So what does it look like now? What should we be shifting to? What mindset are we starting to move into? What are these other factors that we need to be looking for right now and really paying attention to?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I want to think long term, right? I want to understand what the market's going to evolve, how the market's going to evolve. Most likely, nobody knows for sure. And what I know is there's going to be, at a minimum, you're going to have 5-6 million purchase transactions happen in the country. So if I'm in the lending market, I want to maximize my share of that opportunity.
You bet.
Okay? And then the other component that I look at is customer loyalty, right? And they sort of go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Tremendous customer loyalty, tremendous retention can be a huge growth engine. And we've seen a lot of lenders that have historically had maybe 10 to 20% retention rates with their customers saying, wait a second, we should actually be anticipating when they're going to be needing a new home. We should be working with our data to try to determine when there's going to be a probability of them needing a bigger house, right? Life happens, which moves the market. I learned that in 2008 and 9, everybody thought, oh my gosh, transactions were contracting. And the reality is life still happens and people need to move. They need to relocate. They need to have bigger families, all of those things. So I know we're going to have purchase volume. Now, the inventory, I believe it's going to take some time, but that's going to even out. I think you're going to have to, don't shoot me, but you're going to have to see rates sort of tick up a little bit. And I think you're going to see, that demand just shrink a little bit, and then hopefully inventory will work itself out. But I want to think about really those two things. How do I maximize my customer loyalty and retention? Customer for life is the playbook of the future. To do that, I got to be great at tech. I got to be great at putting all the pieces together. And then two, how do I focus on really owning as much of the purchase market as I can? And we always think that in periods of huge digital transformation, which is what we're in, you have to focus on differentiating. You have to focus on, when you're selling money, how do you differentiate, right?
Yep.
Advice, education, service, which seems basic, but it's harder. How do I, attract, engage, and amaze these customers continuously? How do I deliver experience that are going to, I just went through, I'm not going to mention the company, but I just went through a refi process and a purchase process in the not too distant past over the last few months here. And just some of the little human touches that were put in along the way, checking in, emoji getting texted to me saying congratulations, little things can make a difference in terms of differentiating an experience. So I'm focusing on those things if I'm really trying to win this next
Here's the thing, and you mentioned so many things in there that we could really dive into, and I don't want to derail us at all, but you mentioned 2008, 2009. Do you think with lack of inventory, with inflation, with the market, market in some areas higher than it's ever been, do you see us going into an environment 2008, 2009? Are we poised for some type of crash?
No. So look, I think there has to be some type of a correction.
Sure.
But what I don't believe is on the horizon is a crash. And the reason, the credit quality this time, the fundamental difference, and the difference people that maybe weren't in the business back in 7, 8, 9 is the credit standards were dropped to basically zero. If you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan.
Your right? Ninas, your ninjas, all those fun loans.
No income, no asset. I remember thinking something is wrong here, right? So that really fueled a lot of the quote unquote crash that happened, right? The foreclosures and whatnot. And so you don't have that, at least to this point. You're seeing credit standards loosen a little bit, but you certainly don't have the credit quality issues that you had going into that market cycle.
See, there you go, ladies. Somebody who's been through it, who has seen it.
Yeah.
And Joe and I both went through it, and I 100% agree. There's the credit issues aren't there. There's some factors, but they're very different factors. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, it's similar." You know, that the market is so inflated. That's all relative. There are other factors that are probably more prevalent to the entire situation. So keep an eye on that. Don't want to derail this, but let's go back to this conversation because we talk about going into 2021. We're in it now. Going into 2022 is this competitive purchase market, and you just experienced this yourself. You went through this. Is you really need to find a way to differentiate yourself to make that customer experience absolutely phenomenal. Because, like you said, you're seeing these order taker lenders, if you will. We won't name any of them, but these order taker lenders, they're out there, they're advertising. You need to step your experience up above them because
simple nugget, Josh, the quality and efficiency, the quality, I would say, and velocity of your communication, right?
Love that.
High quality communication, quick response times, either you or your team. If I'm an originator as an organization, how do I systematize that across my organization? I want to think about that because that is clearly in it. What I intentionally shopped a handful of lenders. I love going through. I hadn't been through the process in years as a consumer. And I intentionally shopped both, people that were customers of Total Expert and people that weren't. I'm not going to, talk about any names or anything, but it was clearly, there was black and white differentiation on the quality of the communication I received, how quick the information was delivered, and also the clarity of the advice and presentation that I received on the options and the education around those options, right? And I've been in the business for, in one capacity or another for 20 years. And it was still helpful for me to have a human being get on the phone and explain to me, 10-year ARM, 5-year ARM, 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed, how the different amounts, down payment, 75 down versus, 90%, 10% down versus 30% down, those types of things. Somebody to walk me through and educate me. And I found that to be incredibly valuable. And so if I'm thinking about differentiation, I really want to focus on that education and advisory type of focus.
Well, this is crazy because this is coming from somebody, like you said, you've been in this industry a long time. You understand it. Your clients, the people that you work with as a Total Expert, like this is what they do day in and day out. Yet you still had questions. You still wanted that human interaction. Like you're like, hey, I want to get on the phone with somebody. I want to have a real conversation with somebody. Going back to what you mentioned earlier, you stay in your lane. You know what Total Expert is good at. You're not looking at ARMs. You're not looking at interest rates. You're not looking at what current programs are out there. So working with an expert, working with somebody who does this day in and day out is absolutely critical.
Yeah, level up the way that you're giving advice and you're educating your customers across the entire customer journey, right? Educating your customers on making great financial decisions, on property values, on what's going on in their neighborhood, whatever it might be, educating them throughout your relationship with them, and then providing that, that advice to them. I think it would be incredible. What people forget in a lot of the tech companies that saying, hey, we can completely get human beings out of the mortgage process. Yep. And that might be true if there was one mortgage product and it was the same interest rate everywhere and there was no variables and you had no decisions to make. But anytime you've got all these different decisions around different products, different rates, different packages, different amounts of down payment, all those financial decisions. I mean, we think about it, the industry from, financial wellness is so heavily tied to your primary home.
Yeah.
Right? So
no, 100%. So, and let's start as we start to shift this, because I want to talk kind of along these same lines though, is how can lenders really start to boost results and kind of break away from the pack, if you will, as they start to capitalize on it? It is a rare market that we're in. It's a very unique. We really haven't seen anything like this before. There's new opportunity, but how are lenders really starting to capitalize on future growth and future results of success?
Yeah. So number one, I think its mindset is first and foremost having a growth and innovation focused mindset. And then I want to invest in people and technology. And what I mean by that is sometimes if I'm a team leader, or even yourself, if you're a solo originator or you're a manager, how am I investing in my knowledge so that my level of understanding and trends and technology is increasing? And then ultimately, then being very selective and thoughtful about the partnerships that I have on the tech standpoint, and then how I deliver those capabilities, right? There's huge differences in execution. I just read a blog post the other day and it talked about, intent and effort only gets you so far. It's really about execution. And
Wow.
So if I'm applying a new tech stack, if I'm really doing an end-to-end customer journey and I'm trying to put that across my organization, it's the execution that really is the ultimate differentiator. I mean, the technology has to, of course, be a part of that, but partnering with people that can help you on the execution, I think is a key lever. And so it's people and technology. And then we always approach everything from a simple framework of data, insights, and action. Okay. And the data that I have on my customers, and then the insights that I can get, right? Did they list their home? Did they pull their credit? Are there other life events that we can bring into the data set that can inform us what's happening? Am I getting the voice of my customer? Meaning, am I asking them in an elegant way, what's important to you in financial milestones coming up in life for the next couple of years? Am I asking them, right? And then putting that into the customer journey, and then taking action on it in the form of educating, advising, communicating, right? And I never stop that. I'm always having those touch points. And, a lot of traditional lenders that have been in the business a long time have difficulty separating from a very just kind of binary transaction, past customer, that's it, right?
100%. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I love this discussion of execution right now, because it's so easy to talk. It's so easy to, and sometimes I think it's such a big deal right now because tech is everything, fintech, and like, hey, I have the tools, I have the products, I have all this in place. And sometimes we as originators in particular, those of us who are in the trenches, who are working with these clients, who are working with consumers day in and day out, sometimes we expect our tech to do so much of it for us that we're missing the piece of it, that execution piece. That's really, again, AI is becoming a big thing. Tech is evolving so quickly. But at the end of the day, like your experience that you had recently, that one-on-one conversation, that actual interaction, that execution of what it takes to be very successful in creating value for your customers, creating that customer experience and that journey for them, that is absolutely, it's irreplaceable, right, Joe?
How am I delivering and unlocking value for my customer, right? And I mean, the thing that I think is really important, I mean, innovation is hard, right? I mean, getting better and launching technology. I mean, we've been through, many difficult, chapters as we've grown and scaled the company, and you're always kind of pushing through what are our next set of challenges and how do we get the execution to start happening, right? I mean, innovation is hard and it never stops. And I think that's one of the key lessons that I've personally learned building a Total Expert over the last 6 years is it just never stops. You have to get better. Your team has to have the mindset of getting better every single day. And then, who the people that you're bringing on to help you through that journey is a really critical part. And it's the same for our customers.
Oh man, I want to talk about that just for a second, because team is everything. I see you guys have an incredible team at Total Expert. You see some of the incredible people from your marketing team, everybody, Sue. How important is a team to you, especially in times like we are? Like you said, innovation is one of those things where we're all trying to innovate. We're all trying to, become unique. But how important is a team in this rapidly evolving industry?
It's simply everything. And I think having the discipline as whether you're a practitioner and running your business, right, within a larger organization, or whether you're running the organization, having real clarity on, do I have the right people in the right seats that can help me get better, that can help us with our innovation, that can help us with our execution? Because what I've learned is that things can evolve and change, right? Who you had in the chair last year or 2 years ago for this next phase might not be the best spot today, right? So having really the clarity and the awareness to always be evaluating that on whichever end of the spectrum, organization or practitioner, I think is really critical.
I agree. And again, I just see you, why I even bring this up is I see how you run the organization, again, the head of the organization, but you have these teams in place. You have the trust and the confidence in your team to go back to reference what we were even talking about earlier, to stay in their lane. Everybody, they know what is expected of them, and you have the trust and the confidence. That's what really good companies that are innovating and that are growing and that are helping us as an industry, as a mortgage industry, really begin to evolve. It's these teams, and it's the leaders of these companies who see where the industry is going, and they're putting the teams in place to make it happen.
Yeah, and then not getting frustrated when you don't get it right the first time or make a mistake, and technology and innovation and getting better in any industry is filled with what I call kind of the feedback loop, which is, hey, we're moving forward, and you're always collecting data on what's working and what's not, and if you're doing the same things over and over again and you're expecting a different result, then obviously that's on you. But it's always making those adjustments, saying, what did we learn? How do we get better? How do we approach it? And then, evaluating the team and the people around you. And that can include partnerships as well, right? Do I have the right partners to lead? Are they thinking big enough to lead us on this next? They might be fine for today or the next 12 months, but are they thinking big enough to get me through to my next 3 to 4 years?
See, and that's something that, as a leader, you have to be thinking about those things. You have to be actively engaged, like you said, on the execution and talking with your team and having those regular conversations, making sure that everybody has the same vision. Everybody has, that same mindset moving forward. Because if you don't, like you said, it could be it's not like any of us have ever made a mistake before, Joe, right?
Growth is uncomfortable. Let's just say growth is uncomfortable, man. All good things happen outside the comfort zone.
See, but it's the companies that understand that and that are willing to get uncomfortable. Our industry sometimes is such, we're so fixed on a mindset of we're nervous. We're almost scared. There's this fear within our industry sometimes to move outside the norm. It's been done for one way for so long, but it's thinking like you and your team and all Total Experts that starts to be an example for the entire industry, saying, hey, look at us. We're willing to be uncomfortable. We're willing to make these mistakes and learn from them. And that's how you're leading from the front as well.
Yeah. And own it, right? Just own where you're doing well, where you're not doing well, own that. And then, always have the mindset of getting better and improving.
So exactly. So as we start to kind of wrap things up, what results can lenders, some of these recommendations you've given, I think are absolutely brilliant. But as lenders start to implement some of these things, what results should lenders start to expect to see? And again, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to come over time.
So ultimately, the output of great people, great technology, and innovation and big vision should be growth, right?
Absolutely.
Nice, steady, solid growth. And what we see as leading indicators, if I look at my customer journey, we think about everything from the lens of a customer journey, all of the experiences that a consumer has with you and your brand at every stage, right? And so if I'm continuously leveling up my customer journey for my different customers, and I'm putting those customers into different cohorts so I can communicate with them as uniquely and individually and personally as I can, you're going to see increased retention as you're using what we call that data, insights, and action. And I'll just give one more nugget. The gap that we see is usually, hey, we've got data, we've got analytics, we've got insights, but if you don't have the ability to drive the action through your sales process, through all the way through to the consumer and what's happening and how a person is taking care of that customer, you're not going to get the results. So the results should ultimately, you can improve. We've seen organizations that really attack the customer journey, improve customer retention by 50% within 6 months.
Whoa.
And then ultimately, I believe you can improve substantially on your conversion on the front end of the funnel as well. But the customer loyalty is, I just believe, such an important growth lever that has just been underemphasized in our industry.
I 100% agree. What's really funny is for an industry that we talk about how relationships are so critical. Sometimes I think we lose sight of it. I think we lose sight.
Well, you're so damn busy. How do I continue that relationship?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the answer is I got to combine people with technology to do that, right?
See, and that's just it. It's that marriage, is that relationship with customer and technology that sometimes we miss. So it's almost frustrating, especially for somebody like you who has a tool and a technology that is so valuable and so helpful. But at the same time, we as humans, we have to work with it. We can't expect it to do our job. We hear so many people say, "Oh, it's going to take over our job. It's going to take over our job." If you have that mindset, it probably should take over your job because you're not thinking about how you can utilize it effectively together.
How can I level up by using the tools that I have, right?
That's just it. And like, we can't get more time in a day. We just have to be more efficient. We have to use the tools and the things that are right before us to become more efficient day in and day out. And it's great. It's great leaders and it's great tools like you guys have at Total Expert that is helping move that along. And it's these discussions. That's exactly why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, is we're here to have it so we can create value. Joe has dropped so many nuggets of value today. Like, and we're just getting started. There's so many more things that we could get into. But Joe, as we start to wrap things up here, some of the things that maybe share that you're excited for, some of the things that Total Expert, I don't know what you can share, maybe some nuggets of what to expect maybe in the next future.
Well, we've spent the better part of the last year doing some massive engineering and platform work, and we're getting ready to release what we're calling the Summer of Innovation. So we've got more enhancements and new capabilities, new features coming in the next 2 major releases than we've had in the previous 4 years of the company. And so I'm super excited about that. The ability to just unlock a lot of value for our customers and continue moving the needle. We still got a lot of work ahead of us, and but we're pretty excited about the innovation we're bringing to market in the next couple of releases.
Ooh, you guys are gonna have to stay tuned. Like Joe's giving you a little teaser of what to expect. And like you said, if you want to up your experience, if you want to continue to create value for your customers, ladies and gentlemen, you got to reach out to Total Expert. We've posted the link below. You really need to. Now is the time, as we've been talking about this entire conversation, 2021, 2022, as we start to move in to this innovative time. It's not all about rates. I've said that for years. It's never about rate. It's about that experience. And that's why you need a customer experience platform like Total Expert to really help you up your game. So with that, Joe, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and just hanging out with me, sharing so much value. It's always a good time, man. Appreciate you taking
good to be with you, Josh. Super grateful for the opportunity. Thanks for having me.
Lots more to come. I'm excited to have you back on the show again, and lots more to come for Total Expert. Like I said, guys, going to have to keep your eyes on this. There's a lot more to come. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you got some absolute value out of this show today. And if you did, make sure you comment #Total Expert below and share with us. And like I said, if you guys want more information, click the link below that we shared to go to totalexpert.com to get more info. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you guys to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. We'll see you